Hello, my tubies, my Teletubbies. It's me, Sheila Truelove, here with you yet again. And today I want to talk about relationships that last. Because this day and age, if a person could get past 18 months, consider yourself fortunate. A lot of people that I hear, they can't seem to get past 6 months. And a lot of the marriages, as we know that the divorce rate is like 50, better yet, it went up to 60%, the divorce rate. And then you have, forget about the separation rate where people just separate because they can't afford to get a divorce or they're too lazy to get the divorce, but they're separated. That's at least 30%. So put it all together, that's 90% of these relationships that are not working. And then with the 10%, maybe 5% out of that, people are just staying in miserable, torturous relationships because they feel they have no other option, no other way out. Anyway, I want to share a video with you from El Majesty, is my son, as you know, and I love his take when it comes to how to have a successful relationship and what is definitely the missing ingredients out of most of these relationships today. So without further ado,
Lewis Speaks 2020, and today I want to talk to you about the importance of having a spiritual foundation in your relationships. You know, we live in a day and age now where everybody wants to experiment with threesomes and thruples and new ways to relate with one another. And I think that it's important to have a threefold cord in your relationships. And this doesn't mean having a physical person in your relationship at all, no. But having a spiritual guiding light in your relationships. And for me, that is God. You know, having God in your relationships is essential because I see when there is no God or divine order or divine light in my relationships, they go to pot. Every relationship that I have had has had no God in it. And because of that, I noticed that there was discord, there was disharmony, there was differences that were irreconcilable because we had no governing body to consult. And the reality is this: every relationship at one point or another reaches a stalemate. You have one partner going to this side of the room, another partner going to this side of the room, letting pride, arrogance, ignorance get in the way. So what you need is a third party, a mediator. You need good, orderly direction to mediate and serve as a counselor, so that way you both can come to this good, orderly direction and rely on it. You know, I see couples out there who don't have good, orderly direction, who don't have a spiritual foundation, and their relationships are rocked by infidelity, dishonesty, power struggles, basically one person trying to control, another resisting, acting out, and it just breaks down the trust, And in order for a relationship to continue, in order for it to last, I see that it's important to have a spiritual foundation. The relationships that I have seen last, they've always had some level of spirituality. They've always had some kind of governing body to go to in times of confusion, in times of anger. When they're not seeing eye to eye, they consult, whether it be, for me, I consult the Bible, to kind of correct me, to kind of get my mind right. I may not always agree. I may not always want to do what is in the Bible, but I realize the importance of the principle. And I realize the benefit of the principle. And so it also, after a while, you start to think and you start to reflect. And once you get past your own pride, you have something to go to. A lot of these couples nowadays, they don't have anything to consult. They consult their own hearts. They consult friends, imperfect friends who sometimes steer them wrong. You know, they consult therapists who want to give them this philosophy, you know? But they need a spiritual component. Because if you don't have that spiritual component in your relationships, chances are it's not going to last. It's not. You know, I'm living proof. I have dealt with so many partners who none of them really had a spiritual inclination. And my younger self didn't really require that because I was just so happy to have found someone. Loneliness makes you blind. But as I have matured, I realized the importance of finding somebody who has a respect for God and for living things and for their own body. Their body is a temple, a living sacrifice, as said in the scriptures. Your body is a living sacrifice, and yet and still, these people who I've dealt with, they've put poisons in it, drugs, alcohol, overly, because alcohol is cool in moderation, but to get drunk every day, putting all these poisons, drugs, you know. So I'm learning the importance of having a spiritual foundation in my life, and also requiring that of a partner and even of my friendships. If you are a person that does not believe in God, that does not believe in a higher power, that does not believe that the Bible is the Word of God, I don't want to have nothing to do with you. Because that means that we don't have a source to go to when we reach a stalemate. We don't have some kind of guidance that we can rely on to set us straight. And if we don't have that, then really we have nothing. Because I know me, I'm an imperfect person. I know my pride, my ego, my arrogance at times will cause me to just shut down. And it will cause me to go my own way. And I need that correction. We need that correction. And if a person does not recognize that, that's on them. That's fine. But I can't take them seriously. I can't have them in my life because I know what I need. And so I think that's part of growing up too, recognizing your own needs. And I know that I need somebody with a spiritual inclination. I recognize that now. And so that's good. Every day I'm learning something wonderful and new. So I encourage all those who are in relationships, if you're in friendships with other people, definitely consider including a spiritual component within that, because when you have that, you definitely have the potential for longevity. You have the potential for forever. You know, so many people nowadays are breaking up and not lasting. So if you want your friendships and your relationship to last, consider adopting a spiritual component, a spiritual practice into your relationship. So that way you both can build together on that foundation. So this is Lewis Speaks, thanking everybody for their time and attention. And I hope that you have a wonderful day. Peace.
Thank you, Lewis Speaks. You make a mother proud. So there you have it, my Tubies and my Teletubbies. What will what helps to sustain relationships, and what is the secret to lasting relationships? And like my son said, you know, you always need some type of governing body. You know, I raised my children, like I said, as Jehovah's Witnesses. That's that. I fell back from that, but that's my decision. And like I keep telling my son, and I would want my daughter to know, if being a Jehovah's Witness is what works for you, then by all means, stay there if that's what's working for you. My problem is just don't listen and do everything that they tell you to do. Do your research. If they're telling you to shun people, don't listen to them, because that's not in the Bible. Like my son just said, you have to have the Bible to fall back on. You have to do the Bible thing. And when it comes to a lot of the other teachings, if it's not in harmony with the Bible, don't listen to it. But if you get your spiritual strength from that organization, then more power to you. You know, because I agree. like he uses the governing body to fall back on. I say you have to have a pastor, or you have to have a bishop, or you have to have someone who's God-fearing. When someone is going to give me advice, there was times when my ex-husband, he needed someone to talk to, as we all do from time to time, even though you're not supposed to bring outsiders into your marriage. You're not supposed to do that. However, if you are going to have to speak with someone, like I would speak to someone, but I always spoke to a person who have advice in one hand and they had the Bible in the other hand. You see, that's where my ex, he failed, because he would go around and talk to people who were on Satan the devil's team. They would give him all the advice that Satan the devil would give. And anytime he did speak with a brother or someone who was a God-fearing person, and they kept telling him the way he was supposed to handle things, he didn't want to hear it from them. He wanted to go and get advice from pimps, from people on Skid Row, from drug addicts, from full-blown alcoholics. None of these people gave him advice with the Bible in their hand, which is the reason why our marriage didn't work. But as Lewis Speaks, El Majesty, he's on point. If you want to have a successful relationship, it needs to be a threefold cord. That's you, your partner, and God. Because a threefold cord is hard to break. Once you have God in your relationship or in your marriage, whether you're married or you're engaged or you are planning on developing a relationship, you have got to have God and Jesus Christ in that relationship, or it's destined to failure. Because when you don't agree on things, as we know, relationships, it can become like that, where you both just don't see eye to eye on something. So you always have your main source that you could both sit down and say, let's see, what does the Bible say about this situation? Or you could go on Google and you could type in scriptures for whatever your problem is. And then you have the scriptures that you can depend on and that you can follow. So if you want a lasting relationship, especially this day and age where you got people doing threesomes, you got all this crazy sex going on in the bedroom, all of this kind of sex that these people are expecting, you don't need all of that to have an orgasm. All of that nonsense is unnecessary. And also, people need to do some research on sodomites and look at the type of sex that sodomites used to have. Just type in sodomites on Google and it's going to take you to Wikipedia and check out the kind of sex that sodomites had, and which is the reason why God destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. It wasn't just about homosexuality. There's certain type of sexual practices that it's called porneia, and it's not in harmony with the Bible, whether you're married or not. So just go on Google, type in sodomite, and look at what Wikipedia says. However, let's stick to the point. If you want your marriage or your relationship to last, you have to depend on your Heavenly Father. You have to have a main source. You have to have someone who is going to be, impartial. And there's no place better to go, because when you think about who is the originator of marriage, God married Adam and Eve in that garden of Eden. When he brought Eve to Adam and he put them together. What God has put together, let no one put apart. But you have to keep in mind, a lot of these relationships and marriages, God did not put that together, which is another reason why they're falling apart. But back to the subject, for a relationship to last, you most certainly need to have spirituality. Notice I didn't say religious, because I ain't dealing with religious, because that was the scribes and the Pharisees. They were very religious. They didn't have not one spiritual bone in their body. Jesus Christ was very spiritual. Whereas the Pharisees, they had a bunch of rules and regulations and put a lot of burdens on the people. Jesus Christ wasn't all about that, because as we know, they had rules about the Sabbath. Jesus Christ broke that Sabbath. He did things that the religious leaders said you're not supposed to do. Jesus Christ wasn't trying to hear that, nor am I trying to hear it. Jesus was spiritual, never, ever religious. So again, in closing, you always have a choice, my tubies. Please, please, please choose wisely. I love you, and we will talk again. I will see you on the other side. Bye for now.